Hey everyone, ScytherGreen here from Server 73. Today I'm breaking down a march that farms level 55 gnomes in Infinity Kingdom with speed, consistency, and barely any troop loss. Quick heads up, I didn't personally use this exact setup in my own fights. Instead, I worked with a friend who had access to some immortals I don't, and together we built and tested this team to make sure the data is solid. This isn't just a random comp. It's the benchmark I'll be using to compare every future gnome farming build. So, who's doing the heavy lifting in this lineup? Let me introduce the 4 immortals that turn gnomes into effortless XP and loot. Charles the Great, the brick wall that doesn't budge. Charles is my frontline anchor. He doesn't heal, he just stops damage from landing in the first place. And that's exactly what makes him so valuable in this setup. His ultimate skill, Terra Shield, is unique to him. It applies a 400% damage absorbing shield to the entire team, and for 6 seconds after it activates, that shield gets an extra 150% absorption boost, bringing the total up to 550% during that window. He's also running Energy Shield, which has a 70% chance to throw up barriers on 3 random allies every 6 seconds. Adrenaline Rush, which has a 50% chance to give him 100 energy every time he lands a normal attack. And Shelter, an aura that gives everyone a 50% chance to heal when they take damage. This setup is all about damage prevention and uptime. Terra and Energy Shield soak hits as they come in, so while Charles isn't technically healing, he's stopping so much incoming pressure that it feels like he is. Adrenaline Rush keeps his energy flowing, letting him cycle Terra Shield more often. And with Shelter layering in extra reactive healing, he becomes a walking fortress. In my reports, he was absorbing over 1 million damage per fight without breaking a sweat. He doesn't just hold the line, he is the line. Across the gnome fights, Charles consistently anchored the front line and absorbed the bulk of the pressure. In terms of damage taken, Charles absorbed over 1 million in 4 of the 9 battles, as high as 1,554,377, mostly from airship firebombs, which regularly made up 75 to 80% of total damage. On the healing front, he delivered between 6 and 13.9 million healing per fight, a peak of 13,982,245. Terra Shield alone healed for 8.3 million in that battle. Energy Shield contributed up to 4.98 million in others. Shelter added between 40,000 and 395,000 of passive healing per fight. Across all fights, Terra Shield averaged around 1.03 million healing per cast, with 100% effectiveness. Energy Shield also landed every time, no failed casts. Shelter and Berserk were consistently active and contributed moderate healing. Offensively, Charles dealt between 741,000 and 1.7 million damage per fight through basic attacks. Every hit landed cleanly, with no misses or dodges, and his average strike sat between 150,000 and 170,000. Charles didn't just soak damage, he helped stabilize the team under pressure. In a setup built around steady efficiency, that's exactly the role he needed to play. Alexander the Great, the wrecking ball. If Charles is the wall, then Alex is the one smashing through everything on the other side. He's equipped with Assembly Charge, which gives every normal attack a 60% chance to hit his target and 2 nearby enemies, and boosts his physical damage by 10% for 6 seconds. Cleave, adding splash damage to every swing, with a 75% chance to hit 2 nearby targets. Anger, a flat 30% physical damage boost. Always active, and that bonus applies directly to the AoE from both Assembly Charge and Cleave. And Eternal Conquest, his unique ultimate, which becomes fully passive with his exclusive artifact, giving him permanent bonuses to attack speed, damage, and control immunity right from the start. The whole build is designed for non-stop pressure. There's no casting, no waiting on energy, just passive skills stacking on top of each other, swing after swing. In my reports, Alex was consistently landing 30 to 34 million damage per fight, with Assembly Charge often breaking the 10 million mark by itself. He doesn't just deal damage, he drives the entire pace of the fight. Across the known battles, Alex's total damage ranged from 30.5 million to 34.3 million, and he stayed above 30 million in every fight, His output was consistent and heavily driven by normal attacks and passive skill synergy. Here's how his 3 offensive skills performed across the board. Normal attacks contributed 41% to 54% of his total output, typically landing between 13 and 18 million damage per battle. Assembly Charge delivered 9.9 to 13.3 million per fight, with average strike values regularly exceeding 330,000. Cleave added another 3.4 to 7.1 million, depending on how many targets were hit and how often it crit. Although he doesn't use any energy-based skills, Alex consistently outperformed the rest of the team for damage, including Zenobia and Qin combined, just by maintaining constant pressure through rapid swings and high hit volume. Accuracy-wise, his numbers were steady. Assembly Charge had a 100% hit rate in most battles. Critical hits on Assembly Charge ranged from 25% to 52%. None of his skills missed or were dodged across all 9 fights. Even when targeted, like in this battle where he took 929,766 damage, he kept up full pressure and finished the fight with 32.7 million damage in just 18 seconds. This is what passive synergy looks like in practice. No casting, no delays, just reliable, high-volume damage from start to finish. Zenobia, the quiet MVP. Zenobia doesn't need to be loud to carry a fight. She's not throwing out flashy numbers, but behind the scenes, she's the reason you don't lose as many troops. She's equipped with Empress's Favor, her unique ultimate skill, which instantly heals your 2 most injured allies, and then continues healing them every time they land a normal attack, on a 6-second timer. Purification, which cleanses a random ally of debuffs every 3 seconds. If there's nothing to cleanse, it just gives them a heal instead. Vitality Touch, which heals whichever teammate has lost the most troops every 6 seconds, and gives them a buff to both physical and magical defense. And Spring of Life, an aura that boosts all incoming healing by up to 25%, and reduces damage taken for 3 seconds every time a unit receives a heal. Zenobia's kit is pure efficiency. She doesn't need to cast anything. Her healing runs on a rhythm, and because she rarely gets targeted in known fights, her uptime is nearly perfect. In my reports, she was pulling over 900,000 healing per fight, without ever slowing down. Purification was especially clutch against Firebomb from the Rokes, keeping the burns off Charles and Qin, and with Spring of Life amplifying the whole team's sustain, every little bit of healing she triggers goes even further. She's not the one putting up big numbers, but when she's in the back line, the rest of the team gets to play like nothing can touch them. Zenobia keeps the engine running, even when everything else is under pressure. Across all the fights, Zenobia's healing ranged from 286,652 to 980,958, averaging just over 700,000 per battle. She surpassed 900,000 healing in 3 of them. Her top-performing skill was Empress's Favor, contributing up to 76% of her healing in some fights. Purify was also significant in specific moments, especially during rope number 1, where it landed a 394,032 burst heal, strong evidence it triggered on a cleansed burn. Vitality Touch appeared less consistently, but when active added moderate single-target sustain. Zenobia was targeted in 5 of the 9 fights, usually by a single firebomb from the airship. Even so, she maintained 100% effectiveness on all log healing skills. No discarded triggers in any battle. Spring of Life doesn't show in logs, but its passive bonus applies to every incoming heal she or anyone else casts, making every point of sustain go further. Again, Zenobia's numbers aren't loud, but they're clean, consistent, and always where they need to be. Qin, the Accelerator. Qin isn't here to blow up the scoreboard. He's here to keep the whole team smooth, fast, and unshakable. He's the one setting the pace so everyone else can do their job better. He's equipped with Dragon Power, his ultimate skill, which applies wound to all enemies blocking their healing and gives your whole team a 25% boost to attack speed. Rage Blessing, boosting energy regeneration by 50% for 3 random allies during the first 12 seconds of battle. Speed Blessing, giving all your troops a 30% attack speed buff for the first 12 seconds. And Berserk, which adds 10% permanent attack speed and heals your troops a little every time they land a normal attack. Qin is all about momentum. He opens strong, ramping up energy, boosting attack speed, and setting the whole team into motion. Berserk keeps that pressure going all fight long. And that constant healing also plays perfectly with Spring of Life, helping keep its damage reduction buff active nearly the entire time. In my reports, he was dealing between 1.1 and 1.8 million damage per fight. Steady, reliable output. And with Wound shutting down enemy healing and Cleave speeding up known clears, his value goes way beyond the numbers. He makes your whole team sharper, faster, and harder to wear down. Qin's not the one stealing the spotlight, but he's the reason the others get to shine. Qin's damage across all 9 fights ranged from 891,000 to 1.8 million, with most battles landing between 1 and 1.7 million. His output came from both normal attacks and dragon power, with the latter contributing up to 37% of his total damage in some battles. Dragon power applied wound in every fight with 100% accuracy, reliably reducing enemy healing across the board. This was particularly useful against lifelink and vital recovery in rogue battles, keeping enemy sustain in check while your front line pushed forward. Berserk provided consistent passive healing, between 79,000 and 161,000 per battle, depending on attack speed uptime. All Berserk healing landed successfully, with no missed procs. Qin was targeted in every fight, most commonly by firebomb from the airship. He took as much as 929,766 damage in Rogue number 2, but remained active in all battles with no skill interruptions or recorded misfires. Qin doesn't need big numbers to prove his value. His presence alone is what keeps your entire team synced and charging forward. Alright, let's talk about what really matters when you're farming. How much do you lose? The answer with this team? Basically nothing. Across all the fights I ran, troop loss was minimal. We're talking 90 to 100% troop health left at the end of most battles. That means fewer healing timers, less downtime, and more stamina going toward kills, not patch jobs. Charles is absorbing ridiculous amounts of damage with Terra Shield and Energy Shield. Zenobia is keeping the whole team topped up, cleansing burns, and reducing incoming damage through Spring of Life. And because Alex and Qin end fights so quickly, the Gnomes barely get a chance to do real damage in the first place. This team isn't just strong, it's efficient. You can run 5, 10, even 20 Gnome fights in a row without needing to heal, reshuffle, or panic. If you're looking to farm fast and clean, this is the kind of march that just doesn't quit. Let's talk downsides, because, as much as I love this comp, let's keep it real. There are a couple of catches. First, Charles and Alex aren't exactly easy or cheap to get. Neither of them are free-to-play immortals, which means if you're just starting out or sticking strictly to F2P, building this exact march might not be realistic right away. That doesn't mean you can't run something effective, but it does mean this team is more of a long-term goal than a day-one plug-and-play. This comp is about peak efficiency, not early accessibility. And because Alex is doing so much of the heavy lifting, you really need his exclusive artifact to unlock the full power of his passive kit. Without it, you lose that constant pressure and speed that makes this setup shine. So yeah, it's powerful, it's clean, it's consistent, but it's also something you work toward, not something you build overnight. If you don't have Charles or Alex, don't worry. I'll be testing alternative comps in future videos using immortals that are easier to unlock and level. This is just the bar they'll be measured against. So again, it's not the most accessible march out there, but when you do have the pieces, this is what it looks like in action. You'll see Charles up front, already soaking hits while throwing out shields with Terra and Energy Shield. Zenobia in the back is just vibing. Untouched, her healing's kicking in without her lifting a finger. Qin opens with Dragon Power, buffs the whole team's speed, and slips back into the background while everything keeps flowing. And Alex, he's already swinging. You'll notice how fast his attacks are chaining. Assembly charge, cleave, everything firing off automatically. No energy dumps, no abilities to wait for. It's just passive synergy doing its job. And just like that, done. Minimal losses, under 30 seconds, and that's one less Gnome army in Norheim. So, here's the final verdict. This march clears fast, takes barely any troop loss, and runs smooth with minimal effort. Charles holds the line. Alex breaks it. Zenobia keeps everyone topped up, and Qin keeps the whole thing moving like clockwork. It's efficient, it's reliable, and for now, it's the benchmark I'll be comparing every future gnome farming comp against. Thanks for watching, and if you've got a setup that you think can beat this one, drop it in the comments. See you in Norheim.